Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another day in tournament play for the .28 release tournament in DCSS. Today's probably going to be our last day, at least on camera, for playing in this tournament at the very least. Unfortunately, didn't get quite as much time overall as I was initially hoping, but still very much enjoyed what time we have been able to spend trying to work towards some points for the team at the very least. And hopefully, as long as things go well today, we can get a victory with our null buddy that we left off on. It might be a bit tricky, seeing as where we left off, having spent a lot of our consumables and the like, but I'm excited to hop into it, see how it goes. Hopefully, we live past the initial trying to get back into the groove here, and if we can manage that with a null, getting to a decent stage in the game, there's a pretty good chance that we'll make it through in one piece just because of the sheer variety of options at our disposal. So with that in mind, let's hop into things here, shall we? So we just got our Swamp Rune. To do so, we unfortunately spent something ridiculous like 4 Blink Scrolls to get out of there. We've been completely out of Heal Wounds potions for quite some time. So as mentioned in the intro here, we're definitely running out of some of our emergency options, but hopefully we can just play a bit more consistently, maybe play a bit more proactively, and make it through in one piece without too many issues coming up. Of course, we do have to decide where we want to go next, and Spider is, A, just extremely scary with a lot of the new mobs in there. Rad Roaches, I'm looking at you. And secondarily, there's also a Nicola waiting for us down there, and with no resistance to electricity, and more importantly, no way to silence, because even with that resistance, that mad Inventor hits like a truck. It's going to be tough convincing myself that that's our best route forward. So maybe before we head straight into that side of things, we can head out to our dungeon, finish the last floor there. We left the last floor of Lair completely unexplored, so we have a couple of things to maybe inch us up in power level a little bit, hopefully find our way into a File of Floods, a Scroll of Silence, at the very least a Source of Arlek. If we're truly desperate, we have the Scroll of Acquirement that we tried last time, and I'm looking at this Broadaxe less and less as we continue to go on here. Fortunately, we now have a pretty good unarmed fighting score, so we could just coast on that, ride that out until the end here, which would mean most likely taking this amulet, getting that resistance to electricity, getting a secondary regen since we already have this on our chest plate. Both these could definitely help us out, and could potentially open up the Abyss as our third rune option, because if you have a lot of regeneration, the Abyss becomes so much more manageable than it otherwise might be. But we'll have to see when we get a little bit closer to that side of things. I am more and more tempted as the seconds tick by in picking this up, and we probably will end up doing so. Nicola is a big Inventor-sized stop sign. Oh boy, is he ever. Remember back in the good old days when as long as you have resistance to electricity, you were just A-okay to take on Nicola? Unfortunately, not so much the case anymore. That Chain Lightning, I think that's the big one. I always mix up his spells, but 3d 45 damage? Oof. Oof. Too much. Too much. So, let us start off by heading into the dungeon, shall we? We'll head to D14, at least take a peek down to D15, see if our Depths Gate is guarded by anything too frightening. Hopefully not. But you never can know for sure. And here goes nothing. Trying to get back into the groove of things. I'm sure we can figure it out. Wait a second. Trilp. Okay, we did not get a message about a gauntlet. So this might not be a timed one, potentially. It might be a challenge one instead. There's that pretty wild plate mail in there. Plus 10 plate mail with our Arlek on it. That's exactly what we were just complaining about. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that, potentially take it over. And one thing I'm also going to do really quick here while I'm in sight range of these ugly things. Hopefully they don't notice me. So I'm going to pop into our items, and I'm actually going to rebind one of our scrolls. Potentially, or hopefully one that will be in stock for the foreseeable future, maybe even like magic mapping. And we're going to bind this to the letter B, because that will allow us to use the apostrophe, the quick swap option, to switch between unarmed and our sling. So that's perfect. And without further ado, let's get into the first fight of the day, shall we? Also slightly concerned about how we'll be playing today. I'm not used to getting on stream this early on in the day. Oh gosh. Centaur Warrior sneaking up from above is less than ideal, shall we say? So this is where, normally if we're playing, I feel like I get a little bit lost in the sauce, a little bit tunnel visioned, and just keep trying to fight through, and then if something horrible happens, that's when we start laying on the consumables. Because we don't have blink scrolls or heal wounds, this is exactly the kind of case where we might want to take some early action to prevent an issue. One thing we do have in spades at the moment, at the very least, are Haste Potions. So that's the first thing that jumps out to me at the very least. Could grab a haste, which would allow us to close the gap to the centaur and take them out real quick, and then potentially just take our friends from down below back to the stairwell. In fact, I think we will do so just to play it a bit safer. I'm also now realizing, oh no, never mind. I thought this centaur warrior might have been a shapeshifter because they weren't holding a bow in their hands. But apparently they had a bow, and they just weren't using it. I mean, it doesn't help that we were seeing them through the glass, I guess. But might have panicked a little bit earlier than necessary here. Though generally, I don't complain too much about that kind of thing, because better to be safe than sorry, and I'd feel a heck of a lot dumber if we died there to some series of unfortunate events. And there we go. We can see that the rest of this fight goes pretty straightforward. No problems whatsoever. And a Death Knight. So as long as we're careful of your damage reflection, again, I think we can take you on. Hits pretty hard for us sitting at 2 armor class. Not exactly what you'd be hoping to see, but definitely a possibility, especially since if things start to go dangerously here, we can always just start irradiating the heck out of our new friend. And in fact, let's pop up to you and do so just to make sure we finish off that fight without taking too much pain coming our way. Similarly, I hope that we haven't mulched too many of our sling bullets. I just realized at the start of the stream today, or I think right before, when I was kind of doing some refreshers and reminders as to where we left off, that we dropped our stones, which, I mean, ideally, we're not going to be using our stones too much over the next while here, but it is probably a good idea to have some kind of backup ammunition for our sling, just in case that's what we're actively using to finish off a fight. If you could notice me, skeletal friend, thank you. So much nicer when just one of them notices. And let's see how we do with unarmed, because last time we fought up against a skeletal warrior, I mean, it was quite a few experience levels ago. A lot of skills hadn't quite reached the maturity that they're at now, but it was a tough time. And we can see that with our unarmed in its current state, it's definitely going a bit smoother. Oh gosh, that is a bad place for us. One thing that I didn't mention in our little recap at the start of the stream here is that we do, if we pop into our proper screen here, there we go, we have lots of cold resistance. That's fantastic. Having poison resistance, super crucial for certain stages of the game. Unfortunately, absolutely nothing in this fire department, and I don't even think we've missed anything. Might as well check with a quick search. We have the Scarf of Resistance. Ooh, there was a Ring of Fire. Well, with the sheer amount of resistance that we're gaining in the cold department, we could probably afford to wear this, because not having that fire resistance was actually keeping me back from quite a few sections of the game. Didn't really want to go to Elf because of the sheer amount of pyromancers and other kind of flame spells that might be launched our way from an Annihilator or the like. And depths, similar argument. Depths and vaults, I guess, always kind of group them together in my head just because they share a lot of monster types and prerequisites, at least to feel safe going through. So we'll probably go there. The Scarf of Resistance is still a very tempting swap. We'll lose 3 AC, I think, because we have a +2 cloak, which does put us under 20. Not the best place to be when you're playing on a largely melee-focused character, but it might be worth the exchange at some point in the future. And let's see, this Ring of Fire was guarded by, I think, a Tengu Conjurer, if I remember correctly, and a Rakshasa. I mean, this is probably a bit more manageable of a fight now. We still don't have a lot to do against you. Those Force Lances might hit kind of hard. Let's do it. Let's head up here, just to play it as safe as possible. Remove our exclusion. And let's see. Where do we want to make the break here? We don't know what the last 2 monsters are, even though they're little yellow smiley faces, so how bad could it possibly be? You, friend, do have lightning damage, so that is slightly concerning to say the least. But I have a feeling that we can take you out, potentially. So let's wake up just the Rakshasa. That actually works fantastically. Launch some bullets at you, soften you up. That Force Lance, bit of a pain in the butt here. I mean, if the fight goes really poorly, we do have a stairwell right next door, down below us here, so not the end of the world. Could have probably gone away, and in fact that might become more relevant as we face off against our next friend here. Ah, and there's a Death Knight the whole time as well. Would you look at that? How about that? You have damage reflection on, so let's wait a moment. There we go. Much better. We're apparently missing the Death Knight a decent amount, which actually kind of works out because it's taking out the Conjurer. Do I have any piercing? No, I do not. I guess I do probably have a javelin or 2, right? 6 javelins, it's something. Might as well take advantage of the fact that our enemies are lined up nicely here. And in fact, I was gonna say try and kill the Death Knight with it, but that's fine. We'll just swap over instead for the finishing blows at the very least, and that should just about do the trick. Fantastic. Ooh. Oh, I thought this was a stack of sling bullets, just the single one that we launched off, but that's fine. Surprise stream, indeed, Kelly. Yeah, hopping on a bit earlier than usual. An impromptu tournament play stream here. But I definitely wanted to try and fit in finishing off the null run if possible. It's been a busy week, but gotta make time for finishing off the run here, trying to get just a few more points for the squad. Poison darts can definitely be dropped though, not really necessary to keep those around. Staff of Earth. Didn't even know I had that on me, how about that? Good luck today, thank you so much, Callie, I appreciate it. We'll be trying our best. It's a little bit of a tough spot to be starting off in, but I'm sure we can make it work as long as we avoid some of the pitfalls that I would usually just immediately fall for. So let's drop that chest piece right away, and we can drop the staff as well. But perfect, there we have it. Let's head back down, shall we? I mean, might as well check out, what were these blocked for? This one was Snorg. I can probably kill Snorg. You're still extremely dangerous. The Berserk is going to be rough if you start getting your hits in, but at least only has a 19% chance to hit us. And there could be treasures here. Something that could maybe tip us over the edge in terms of what we're lacking, whether that be the resistance side or the more traditional defenses, because 22 AC, again, not exactly ideal. So let's just poison you up as much as we can while you walk in. We'll start normally and then go to irradiate once you berserk so we can just finish the fight as quickly as possible. What's up, rubber? Hey there, Brent. How's it going? It's going all right on my end. Having a good day. It is Friday, so that's always pretty fantastic. Excited for the weekend. Have some work to get done, but otherwise we'll be spending some time with the doggo and the wife. And Noel still lives, just barely. We're hanging on by the skin of our teeth. I'm hoping that we'll make it through in one piece, though no guarantees, of course. But we're ready to get in the dungeon and just punch everything to death. It's gonna be fantastic. You have a fun short D&D story from yesterday? Perfect. I'm always happy to hear some D&D stories. They're a lot of fun. Oops, let's maybe not walk towards this buddy and might as well bring out the Pustabalis there. Actually doing better than I expected. Didn't quite realize how well that would take down some of these enemies, and not just on that two-headed ogre. Even using it earlier against the Rakshasa and the Tengu was a bit shocking. I also, just passing by this shield here, reminded me that we're still rocking our +2 buckler that we started with. Oops. Find is what I meant to do. There we go. That should be better. So let's take a peek here. I mean, a buckler of protection is already better. We have just bog standard kite shields. So that's a bit interesting. Would definitely increase our shield score, but I might be tempted by this buckler of protection. Get some more AC, since that is something that, again, I've been kind of harping on is lacking, at least for this style of character. So let's pick that boy up. And let's see, before we break a chain, do I want this curse? Melee combat? I mean, it has unarmed in there, and unarmed is one of those rare melee skills that you always want to just keep amping up because it gets exponentially better, and if you can get it up to 27 in a run, you're just going to be slaughtering things with your bare hands. Otherwise, armor and shields, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that, honestly. So I think we will curse something, and it will most likely be the scale mail. We've been looking for a good curse to put on it, since it will most likely stick around, at least for the time being, for a decent little while here. And the amulet can't exactly make the same promises, since we might be grabbing the other one from the acquirement scroll. So let's smack the curse on that, and then we can shatter the chains on our buckler, shall we? Goodbye, buckler of the Gnostic planets. You served us well. But it's time to, ooh, not that put on, we want to wear. You're fighting a blood ent, and it summoned a bloody gelatinous cube. The cube sucked up your NPCs, so of course you're the paladin with the strength score, you gotta pull them out. And of course you get enveloped instead, oh no. Now your previous character had bad experiences with cubes, so this is where you remember something and say, oh, this is fine. To which your GM says, being in a gelatinous cube is fine. And you just activate your ghost tattoo and walked out of the cube. Don't like it, you can leave. Fantastic. The roller coaster of emotions, the drama of it all. Absolutely lovely. Gelatinous cubes are one of my favorite enemies in D&D in general. They've been around pretty much since the start, and they're a lot of fun. If they're not completely enveloping your character and suffocating you as moments tick on, of course. That's fantastic. The moral is the ghost tattoo is OP. I need to get me one of those. That sounds like it could definitely come in handy. You're the paladin who cannot be grappled. It's a pretty fantastic claim to fame. Also, these are a bad enemy for us. So let's run away hoping that they change color. Most of them did, so I'll take it. Hopefully you don't slap us too hard with your electric feel here. Perfect. It's also 3 times a day, which seems like a lot. Not bad. I mean, depending on how you use it, you might end up blowing through those 3 uses pretty quickly, but sounds pretty fun. I haven't used too much tattoo magic. Is this just a reskin of a different item or something, or is it a fully kind of fleshed out magical tattoos add-on that your DM has kind of worked around, or maybe you as a party as well? Also, yeah, hey Brain, I missed you saying hello there. I hope you're doing well, that your tournament has been going fantastically so far, of course. I think it's from one of the new books. Okay, I think my partner had her eye on that, because she has tattoos in real life and absolutely loves the aesthetic of it. So she's always on the lookout, and I think she was excited about that book being put into practice for sure. Trying to convince my brother, he usually DMs for our family group, trying to convince him to add it in on some of the online platforms that we use. Yeah, Tasha's Cauldron, that's exactly it. That's awesome. Yeah, how do you find the book in general? Are you enjoying the add-ons that it brings to the table? I've used some like form of tattoo magic in the past, but for me it was just reskins of kind of more traditional objects or abilities. But I really like that there is a bit more of a cohesive theme brought together with something like that. Haven't read through it all yourself, but all the tattoos are pretty neat. Awesome. Well, that's all that matters. The rule of cool declares that as long as they're neat, they're pretty fantastic to add on to any given campaign or character. Let's see, we have one hasted regular ogre, as long as we take out the two-headed ones before that becomes a problem. Perfect. Tap through the rest of these bad boys. The fact that they're hands-free is nice. Oh, for sure. You don't want any of that, Oh, I should remember... what are the words? There's a verbal, it's like somatic or something like that. What is the physical component of spellcasting? There's material, verbal, and I feel like it's an S. So it is somatic. It is somatic. Whoa. Sometimes my own brain surprises me. All I could think of in my head was it's not semantic. Don't say semantic, because that's a totally different thing. Also, what am I doing? Let's not start this fight. Goodbye, friends. We don't deal with fire. Had a traumatic childhood incident on this knoll, and ever since then they've been completely terrified of the situation. I mean, you did have a halberd of flaming on that ogre mage, so maybe I should have been a bit more careful there. Stochastic. So many fancy S words, can't keep them all straight. But here we go. Let's stop using auto explore. That might be a good idea, and let's just head up manually here. And fisticuffs me, my Tengu friend. It felt so horrible to lose all my poor innocent Tengu runs to unfortunate circumstances, so we get a little bit of sick pleasure, some sadistic glee from taking out some Tengus of our own. It's justice. You suppose alchemists do have stochastic requirements? Or at least some stochastic? No. Hello again, friends. Eden is a little bit frightening for that exact reason, so let's maybe hop back. I don't think we're going to get one shot by our Eden buddy, so here's where we immediately just start blasting with that lovely irradiation. No, spell viper or mana viper. I'm not interested in what you're selling, so I'll just keep going my own way if that's okay. And definitely have to take out this Tengu. At least they're not going to lightning bolt us with another enemy on the other side, so that works out. You're also playing with some expanded crafting rules you're excited to get into. Of course, with your 300-pound Minotaur paladin, you have chosen calligraphy. Oh, it's the only fitting one. The nice, delicate strokes. I'm sure your giant beefcake will have no problem handling tiny, itty-bitty feather pens, right? That's fantastic. It's nice to know that your Minotaur has a bit of a soft side, a bit of a creative streak, you know? Good character building. I think I might have mentioned to you once before Brinth, where we were kind of chatting a bit through DMs, that in general in D&D, I really like characters that break against tradition or are kind of like walking and talking contradictions. So yeah, having like your beefy fighter be a tiny little halfling, or have your beefy Minotaur fighter love something delicate and tiny is fantastic. And I think just adds a lot of fun moments, or at least a lot of potential for fun moments into your playstyle. Is the paladin of knowledge, so it kind of fits? Yeah, that definitely works. You gotta know your words. Ooh, this sling can definitely go. Let's drop that. Finally get a heal wounds back. Hurrah! He was last seen proselytizing the benefits of learning to read to some goblin children. Beautiful. I love to see your character trying to make the world a better place. That's what it's all about. And we definitely got to focus more on our education. In those goblin villages, we've been, you know, gentrification has been rampant. We need some source of restitution to be paid back to the goblin peoples. And one way to do that is probably to help expand in the schooling system, make sure that they have the resources at their disposal to succeed in life. Love to see it. Just think of the children, specifically the goblin ones, of course. There's a big class struggle vibe in this world that the DM homebrewed. That's awesome. Very relevant, too. It's a good idea to explore, for sure. So love to hear it. One day I definitely need to get around to actually DMing at some point, because I have a very vested interest in doing so. I absolutely love creative storytelling, and I actually am a pretty big fan of improv and trying to be quick on my feet and come up with things, so I would hope that I'd be okay at it. I'm sure the first few times are going to be a bit rough. The only times I have DM'd in the past are for players that had never touched the game before. I had a group of friends in high school that were very much interested in learning what D&D was like, and they'd never actually experienced it. So, fairly low bar in terms of expectations. Did all right there. It's a bit tougher with people that kind of know what's going on. Though, fortunately, again, I do have a pretty fantastic group of friends in my family members and partner. So I'm sure they'd be pretty understanding of me potentially needing to take a moment every once in a while to remember what that NPC's name was, and oh gosh, trying to remember what they all sound like. I have such a hard time keeping voices consistent in my head, as you might have noticed if you joined us for any of the Inscription or Wildermyth that we've played on stream over the last few months. But I have a heck of a time doing it, so I'd like to at some point or another for sure. Starting with one-shots is fun and less stressful. Ooh, that's very true. I mean, the ones, I think I have two in my head that I've kind of mulled over a bit more and have fleshed out a bit, at least on my side of things. Unfortunately, both a bit more campaign-oriented, so I feel like I'm jumping straight into the deep end with that. But I probably should try to one-shot at some point just to get myself back in the groove of remembering what it's like to be on that side of the screen. And also, if I do it on Twitch, you'll play. That would be a fun idea to try sometime for sure. Join together some a group of like-minded folks here on the platform. Just make sure that I fully embarrass myself when I display just how horrible I am at all the things that I just talked about being a fan of. Sure, it couldn't go wrong. You know what, let's just irradiate Josephine real quick. Fantastic. There are also a lot of good free one-shots to look through on the DMs Guild. Ooh, I'll definitely have to check it out at some point. I haven't really worked with pre-mades too much in the past. I feel like I would have to throw a little bit of my own spin on it just because that's who I am. But definitely is a good option for someone like me, I feel. Get back into the groove. Figure out what I want to do with it. And hey, Dr. Pirate, how's it going? Lovely to see you here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And that's part of the fun, for sure. Gotta have some of those awkward moments. Get a few chuckles out. Break the tension every once in a while, right? But okie dokie, in terms of our dungeon run here, things are going alright. We've managed to clear D15. Didn't find any of the treasure pieces that are really gonna put us over the edge of concerns that I have in terms of our resistances. Wanted to do a quick check as well to see what curse had been offered. We just keep getting, it's beguiling and alchemy. Those are the two things that Ash apparently just really wants us to specialize in. And I don't know if I'm feeling it, Ash. I'm gonna be honest with you. Not sure if I feel it. We could throw this one onto our necklace and just plan on breaking it in the future if we do end up switching away from the Reflection brand. Could be something. Beguiling Knoll, huh? Sound familiar, Brent? A little less devilish, maybe, but still very much on brand, on theme. You kind of hate the randomness of offered curses, right? That's why we just have to play Genies of Ash, because that way it just cuts a bunch of the flack from the table, and instead you just get the sweet, sweet good stuff. But yes, I don't think that we'll end up taking this curse, so maybe I do just want to shatter a chain now. More specifically, I want to get rid of, I believe, one of our rings. Specifically this willpower one. It is giving us melee, which I do love, unfortunately, and it's gonna be sad to get rid of. But we have another willpower ring in the back pocket, and we would be able to swap to some fire resistance at the very least. We need something in that department, or else I'm going to be in constant and consistent panic mode throughout the entirety of this run, I'm sure. So we'll probably do that. I also just realized that maybe we want to curse this buckler. Might be holding on to it for a while. I would largely want to use this curse on something relatively useless that I maybe don't want to keep around for the extended part of the runs. Of course, in quotations, since extended has very distinct connotations in this game. Don't think we're in a good position to go that direction. We'll see how it goes, of course. I guess the other concern there is time, because I am not a fast player, and our Felid 15 rune run took quite a long time to finish, so maybe not so much, but regardless, into the end of our 3 rune, we will likely be happy to break this buckler. So let's plop this bad boy on, give us at least that fighting to get some more health, and on top of that, if we find a good transmutation, maybe get statue form, I could see it becoming relevant. Friends, you've never played a Gnoll for D&D, but it seems fun. You designed a Gnoll monk at one point. I like a lot of those like monster species. I mean, I first started playing D&D back when it was very much, at least in terms of vanilla, D&D was very much just kind of your classic selection of species choices. So I've been really happy to branch out a little bit more in modern times, especially again. I mentioned earlier how my wife keeps really trying to push to get Tasha's Cauldron added into any campaign that we play nowadays. Similarly, if she finds a species that she just really likes the aesthetic of, she'll immediately offer to pay for the like extensions added on to things like Roll20 and stuff like that, because she just really wants a UNT. She wants to be a snake lady, and that's all she can think of. Wife knows what's up. It's all about fashion D&D. Definitely. Well, especially if you want to play your character with like a good angle and you want to have some personal stakes in it, it's nice to have those little touches added on. Yeah, hell yeah, snake people. Gotta be the full-on abomination though. Definitely. No other way about it. Okie dokie. I don't think we'll break the chains on the ring yet. I'm very tempted to. You know what? Scratch that. Ignore everything I just said. We're gonna break the chains. So let's bring some Florence and Machines in here and let us get rid of the eye in the sky. I do like it melee and self. That's also giving us that fighting score that we do kind of enjoy having at our disposal. A little bit of unarmed damage is going to go down as well, but it is what it is. And that will allow us to switch to either Ring of Fire or back to Willpower, depending on what's necessary at any given moment. So let's try it out, shall we? Should bring us down to 2 pips of our C. Fantastic, that's definitely working. You have an understanding DM for the roguelike campaign. He's letting you roll on a table with only the Anthro races as opposed to all of them. That's good. You always want a DM that works with you. I mean, it's a collaborative effort, right? Everyone's working together to create the best story, the best... I mean, maybe just the best mechanical fights, depending on what your group plays for. If you like that over the kind of narrative, then heck yeah, do whatever works best for you. And a good DM, I feel like, will always be understanding and flexible in a lot of ways. You gotta be agile, on the balls of your feet, and ready to help the players experience their best game, as well as try and make sure that you're having fun too, of course. There might be some wiggle room there, because we don't want to just force GMs into a corner and have them always catering to us. It's a pull and push. Push and pull, I guess, is usually the way people say that, but why not both? And okie dokie, where do we want to go? Now that we have the option for fire resistance, I'm thinking elf. We'll have to be careful. Without that willpower ring, we're only at 2 pips of willpower, so anytime I see an elf wizard, probably want to swap over. Getting banished would be an unfortunate thing. Potentially survivable, experience level 17 with a decent amount of regeneration at our disposal. Could be okay, but maybe still preferably not. So let's head that direction for now and see if maybe if a lightning idea strikes on our way, I'll realize that I'm a complete idiot and should have done something completely different. But I think it's worth a shot. Oh wait, we have no resistance to electricity, so I think we'll also make another commitment here. Scroll of Acquirement that we left on the back burner last session. I think I've decided. I want your amulet. Perfect. Unfortunately, we haven't actually cursed our amulet to us, so we can easily switch to that. It's rough because Reflection, also fantastic in Elf. I would like to have that, but with the possibility of seeing Air Elementals, Zephyrmancers, and the occasional... all I could think of was Electric Snake, but Shock Serpent, of course, the fancy notation for Lightning Snake. We definitely want that resistance to electricity in order to ensure that we don't just immediately crash and burn. Everything starts going downhill right off the bat here. In fact, let's take you two upstairs. We even see scimitars of electrocution instantaneously, so I already feel vindicated in our decision. Love to see it. Was that the floating one? It was. You son of a gun. You know what, let's just take 2 of you upstairs. This already might completely surround us with fire elementals if things don't go completely according to plan, so I think we gotta take that. Yes, I'm on fire. I'm sorry for trying to rest and relax a little bit while burning up in flames. I guess I just do it a little bit differently than the game thinks. But okie dokie. I'm very glad that we swapped over to the Ring of Fire here, because apparently we're getting almost nothing but Pyromancers. Similar logic and reasoning for the Zephyrmancers here, and putting on that amulet came just in time. And I'm slightly concerned about the party we're building up, especially since we're not exactly making fantastic progress. I guess we've almost killed this buddy. We need to get rid of that trident as soon as possible. So let's step up. Let's do some radiation here. Make sure we just ruin the entire environment of Elf for everybody in the future. Nice, all of our magic skills finally hitting the next level, and let's just take our new friends on a little bit of a merry jaunt. I'd like the knight, if you could come this way, sir. Sir, please. If you could just walk right this way. Guess not. Guess we're going to be taking some fire elementalists up with us instead. Unless you're also too shy. No, there we go. Okie dokie. Gonna have to be playing this a little bit cautiously, at least for the start. Just make sure we're not getting ourselves into a deeper well than we're able to recover. There we go. We can see that the knights are definitely one of the top contenders for annoying enemies, at least in the early game here. I'm sure once we start seeing annihilators and wizards coming out of the woodwork every which way, I will immediately backpedal on everything I just said, but for the time being, it's definitely who we're struggling against. Even without a reflection brand, apparently the archers aren't the end of the world. I mean, these are no master archers, so I'm ready for, again, things to really hit the fan in the lower levels of Elf, but for the time being, going pretty smoothly, can't complain. Ooh, a Vampiric longsword. Interesting. Tempting to potentially keep around, but a Buckler of Reflection is a thing of beauty. Do I have the room for this? I do. Let's pick up that bad boy right away, and I think, unfortunately, we'll be immediately swapping away from the the buckler that we cursed on our own here. Let's definitely irradiate against Death Drake. Similarly, I'll probably keep doing against the Yak just because it'll kill it very quickly before it transforms into something even more terrifying. Gotta be careful with those shapeshifters. Fantastic. Let's see, I'll maybe wait for our curse to be offered, and then I'll try and apply that to something before uncursing or breaking the chains on our current buckler. No, don't do that. Dang you, auto fight. Much better. Sometimes you just gotta do it yourself. Box of Beasts, I definitely want to get my paws on, so do you want this falchion? Gotta go. Stones we're now potentially keeping around. Curari darts have definitely fallen off by this stage in the game. We have a lot less enemies that are weak to poison, or at least not resistant, I guess is the more accurate framing. But might leave it for the moment, at least. Similarly, I'm tempted to drop this cloak. We can always come back for it. The scarf is more likely to get tossed into the mix. And though even saying that, I immediately start humming and hawing on my side and not actually sure if that's what I'm going for. Amulet of Reflection can go. What else have we got here? Scrolls of Amnesia, I guess, is a pretty safe one. And let's do it. Now we get the Box of Beasts. Fantastic. Anything to leverage our decent evocation score here will help out a great deal in the coming trials that we find ourselves facing. Hello, my orc friends. I probably want to find a little bit of a corner to hop around, if just to avoid the High Priest. I think the High Priest can see us now, right? It's always hard to tell with Ashen Zari. As soon as you have that special sight that lets you see through walls, I think it's called Astral Sight, things get a little bit trickier to deal with. Oh, Wizard got hasted by the Seething Chaos. Apparently I just should have stepped right into the cloud without a second thought. My bad there, game. My mistake. So happy to catch my stream. Hope my crawling goes well. Thank you so much, Iostra. I appreciate it. Always nice to see new faces, new names popping up in the chat. So I'm glad you were able to catch us here today. I hope you're having a fantastic day and that your crawling has been going well too. Especially if you have been participating in the tournament, but regardless, I hope it's been going well. Everyone could just come to my hallway of death, please. Make things a little bit more expedient. Would be nice. I'd appreciate it greatly. Such good sports here. Okay, now we're getting tricky. Do you want, let's just close the door. That's the solution here. Fantastic. Then we can wait for you to come up to us instead. That works much better. Oh no, we've lost our spot. Excuse me, excuse me. Need to close the door behind me. Always close the door behind you, of course. It's good to be polite, make sure our rules are in place. Ah, it's broken now, that makes sense. So it seems like anytime a door breaks or is opened by an enemy twice, they break it down instead. Maybe something like that. And again, Demonologist needs to go, especially if you bring out an Ice Fiend. Excuse me. That's not allowed, friend. Let's definitely bring out the pollution there and just irradiate the whole place. Fantastic.